different marketing campaigns like social media, newsletter stuff, and also connecting with local businesses to either do event sponsorship or advertise with the magazine. So with that being said, I guess let's just jump right into it. So I'm going to share my screen with all of you. I have a little, oh, actually, Ray, it looks like host has disabled attendee screen sharing.
Okay, go ahead and try now. I think I just fixed that setting. I'm sorry about that.
Awesome. Yeah, it looks good. All right. So here's my screen. I'm going to hide all of you in the corner here so I can kind of see my PowerPoints, but speak up if you have any questions or concerns about anything. I did also put some time at the end for questions, but feel free to just speak up if you have something urgent that you want to ask me. So right off the bat, SLUG Magazine stands for Salt Lake Underground. And a quick little kind of tidbit about us. We're an alternative monthly publication covering music, arts, culture, lifestyle, LGBTQ+, BIPOC communities, and more in Salt Lake City. Yeah, really that is a very small amount of what we cover and what we do. So a little more about us. So like I said, it's an acronym for Salt Lake Underground. And basically our mission is to amplify Salt Lake City's thriving alternative and underrepresented music, arts, lifestyle, and event subcultures through thoughtful media coverage. So basically what that means is that we're writing about the stuff we're not reading anywhere else in the Valley. So we're trying to find all those people that aren't featured in the Trib or wherever else, and we are trying to give them a place to talk about themselves and what they're doing in this community. Really, we're all about uplifting local artists, local creators, local businesses. We started off, if you haven't heard of us before, we started out as kind of a punk zine back in 1989. So we've been around for 32 years. We're one of the longest running print publications in the country, which is really, really cool. Since then, our culture has shifted a little bit, and so has SLUG Magazine. So while we are still a big fan of the punk community, we still very much consider ourselves a part of it. We have expanded a little bit to include all things community. So the big thing we do, of course, is the magazine. So we have a print issue that comes out every month, completely free. You can pick them up any place cool. So those come out the first Friday of the month, and you can pick them up at your local bars, your local coffee shops, your favorite local shop. If you haven't ever seen us around, I'd be really surprised. But really, we're just trying to get ourselves in as many local businesses as possible to get, these stories out and stuff. So it's really cool if I hope some of you have seen us on a rack outside your favorite coffee shop or whatever. But if not, shoot me an email after this and we'll get ourselves stocked in some of your favorite places. So along with the print issue, we also have slugmag.com, which our executive editor, Angela Brown, launched, I think, in 2001. So it's fairly recent, not really that recent in the digital age. But our SLUG Mag and slugmag.com cover all things music, arts, and events in our community. So just kind of diving into that a little deeper, let's look at each of these and see what's going on in there. So the first one is music, which is most of our readers' favorite thing to talk about. It's probably what we're most known for, partially because we started off as a punk zine. So it's definitely a big part of SLUG Magazine's identity and our community in general. We're all really big music lovers here. If you follow our Twitter, normally when we're in the office, of course, we've all been working from home recently, but when we're in the office, you can follow our Twitter and see what we're listening to through the hashtag SLUG playlist thing. And it's a great way. I love all my coworkers because they introduce me to crazy music that I would have never listened to otherwise. But we're trying to share that all with you. So on slugmag.com and in the print issue, we have local, national, and international reviews. So basically our writers will just listen to the latest album that dropped from either our favorite local people or our favorite national people. and we'll tell you whether or not it's worth listening to. And then we also do interviews with musicians. So we've had a lot of really cool opportunities to sit down with national and international, and of course, local musicians, and kind of get a feel for their artistic process and, what just kind of everything that goes into their music. So that's really cool. It's a great way to discover new music. You can kind of sort it. If you go to our website and click on music, you can sort local or national music. If you kind of want to see what local bands are out there, I had no idea how much cool stuff was in our local music scene until I started working for SLUG. We have a really talented community here, and so it's awesome that we get to uplift all of them. And then speaking of uplifting local musicians, we also have a bi-weekly SLUG Soundwaves podcast. So every other week, our producer, Parker Mortensen, will sit down with a local band of some sort and just kind of talk to them and see what's going on, with either their latest album or how did they get involved in music, that kind of stuff. And it's a really cool kind of deep dive into the local music scene, and it's a great way to get to know your favorite local musicians. So that comes out every other week, and it's about 20 minutes long. So I highly recommend checking that out if you're into local music and you're into podcasts. It's a beautiful merger of the two. And then we also have monthly concerts featuring these local musicians. So that's awesome. We do SLUG Picnic, Localized, and Virtualized. So we have a concert going every month featuring 3 different musicians, and you can go onto our website and we'll have an interview with the featured musicians, just again, kind of getting to know them further and kind of seeing what they're going to be doing at the concert. So I highly recommend, if you check out our concerts, you should read the articles that come out beforehand, because it's kind of a great prelude to set up what you're going to listen to at the concert. But also, if you've only ever read the interviews, you should 100% come check out these concerts. For a lot of our musicians, it's sometimes their first time playing in front of like a real live audience, like a real concert. And so it's just a great experience, getting everyone in a room together. Obviously that hasn't happened in COVID, but we'll go more into that later. So that's just kind of our music section. Why don't we talk about the arts in general? So arts is a very broad category, obviously, and we do a lot of stuff in the local arts community. So along with kind of checking out local galleries or highlighting local artists in our thing, in the issue, we also do articles about artists. So on the right here, you'll see Electra Jones, who was I think a few months ago, maybe like February, or this most recent February, they were our Bold and Beautiful feature, which is basically just an interview with a local drag artist, where we kind of talk about what got them into drag and like what they love about that community. And it's honestly, I love it for the photos alone, like are just so stunning. Like look at Electra in this image. It's the crown and everything is just so good. So I highly recommend checking out our fashion section. We also do SLUG Style, which is a monthly feature where we talk with a local community member about what, that we think is fashionable or stylish. And we talk about kind of what influences their fashion. And it gives you some great fashion inspo. So I don't have a picture of that here, but it's a great way to kind of see. We usually tie them into whatever our monthly issue theme is. So this month's issue theme is Amplify Black Voices. Last month's was photographers. So like last month we sat down with a photographer. This month we sat down with the man who owns Embody Studio, which is a really cool. So that's kind of what SLUG Style is. And along with that, we do, we sit down with local fashion designers and other cool stuff. So those are 2 of my favorite articles. Those are slugmag.com exclusives. So if you have never seen them in the print issue, that's why. But we have one come out every month. So definitely keep an eye out for those. The next one, of course, is featuring local artists in the magazine, on the cover, online. So, if you open up a SLUG magazine, we have beautiful layouts thanks to our lead designer, Joshua Joy, who works with local artists to basically get stuff drawn for our magazine. And then he'll kind of work with some of our design interns to lay it out and just highlight the written content. And it's one of my favorite parts of the job is getting to interact with local artists and see what they come up with for stuff like our events or the layout. We also, of course, do reviews as well as articles, as well as promotion for local performance art and theaters. So basically just, you know, kind of the same thing, just trying to uplift everyone in that community as well. We also have almost daily film reviews. So we have a really avid film junkie named Patrick Gibbs who writes for us. And he posts pretty much every day with a new film review. And it's introduced me to a lot of new films. And we've also gotten to do a lot of really cool coverage for like Slam Dance, for South by Southwest, as well as for Sundance. So that's really fun. I love reading his stuff. All right, and then next up is events, which is my bread and butter. I'm the events coordinator. So we're gonna hang out on this one for a little while. But basically, along with doing our events, we also have a daily calendar on our website. So if you're ever sitting at home wondering what to do this weekend, I highly suggest you go to the events tab on slugmag.com and you'll find we have, you know, just tons. It's a completely open calendar. So we get lots of crazy cool submissions. And it's a great way to kind of find out what's going on around the Valley that you want to do. And if any of you have an event coming up that you want to share, maybe your band's, you know, going to be featured in a concert or a festival, or maybe you're, you know, going to be at an art gallery or something, submit it to our daily calendar of events because we would love to hear from you. And yeah, that's pretty much that. Kind of going into the individual events themselves, I have some kind of more detailed slides here with some photos. So we'll go through those individually. So SLUG Games is our first event. It usually happens January, February kind of area. It did not happen in 2021, unfortunately, because of COVID. But next year, we're really excited to get back to it. Basically, it's a amateur snow and ski competition where we go up to Brighton and people can sign up to do this. We have this awesome, we work with the Brighton Diggers to set up a course and basically people just sign up day of. It's completely free to be a part of. And they, you know, ride down the mountain and they show us what they got. So you'll see some people here doing some sweet tricks. I unfortunately do not know the names for them, sorry. But it's a super fun event that gets us up on the mountain and it gets us kind of, you know, out with that crew, which is just so much fun. And they get to compete for these super awesome prizes. We get so much swag to give to them, you know, whether it's a brand new snowboard or skis or some sweet ISM hats, or like Pit Viper was there last year. It's a really fun time where we all get to just hang out and play in the snow all morning and watch people do some like really cool tricks. So I love SLUG Games. So again, that happens kind of January to February. So look out for it for 2022. All right, next up, SLUG Cat. And this is exciting because this is coming up pretty soon. May 29th is our next SLUG Cat. So we were able to do this. Of course, we are still in the middle of a pandemic. So this is something we were able to do socially distanced, completely safe with masks and outdoors and stuff. So this is still happening May 29th. But this is really fun. It's a alley cat scavenger hunt style bike race. So basically we send riders, they come, they usually check in at Saturday Cycles, and we'll give them like a manifest of clues with kind of like little directions on, you know, where to go throughout the Valley. So we'll work with local businesses. Mountain West Hard Cider, for instance, is one we worked with last year, or the local bike collective. And riders get to kind of ride around town and compete in these super fun challenges when they get to the stop. So you'll see here, we have someone stacking cups, and then we have another person doing some sort of crazy dizzy spin technique there. I have no idea what's going on in that one, but basically you just have to compete in these super silly, super fun challenges. and then bike to the next stop. You know, you get a stamp or a sticker or whatever, and then you have to go to the next one where you just have to do it all again. And then at the end, we tally up points and we give out prizes, of course, because what is a race without some really cool prizes? So grand prize of this one is usually a bike, but we get lots of really cool stuff from local business sponsors, as well as, you know, we just get to hang out with the bike community in Salt Lake, which is just such a fun group of people. All right, next up, BREWSTILLERY. So BREWSTILLERY is another one that has been on pause for a little while because of the pandemic. You know, it's a beer and distillery festival. So basically what we do is we invite all your favorite local brewers and distillers, as well as food trucks and artisans, and we just throw a big fest to kind of celebrate them, right? So we give out awards on like best new brew, or, you know, best up and comer, that kind of stuff. And you just get to run around and sample beer and spirits, and it's so much fun, as well as, you know, eat and drink and be merry. So it's a really cool event. We haven't had it in a while, but we are hoping, you know, 2020 is looking a little better so far. So hopefully towards the end of the year, we'll get one of these. And you'll see down here, we have, this is our BREWSTILLERY. So far, we've only had one of these, but it was BREWSTILLERY, but during October. So we got to all wear costumes, and that was fun. All right, next up, SLUG Picnic. So this is one of our monthly concerts we had over the summer. We kind of had to shift. Normally we do something called LOCALIZED, which I'll talk a little bit about in the next slide. But SLUG Picnic was awesome. We recently moved from our space on Pierpont Avenue into Art Space City Center. Sorry, I'm getting slacks. Work from home. Anyway, so we moved into Art Space City Center, which just has this like massive parking lot. And we just thought it would be so much fun if people could like kind of, it's almost like tailgating, except for instead of getting ready for a football game, you're getting ready for an awesome concert. So people were able to socially distance. They kind of had, everyone had their own little like square or like area to be in, where they could set up chairs and blankets and bring in some food, as well as we gave everybody who got a picnic spot, got these really cool picnic baskets filled with like popcorn and like Harmon's goods and like just a bunch of cool stuff from our sponsors. But that's super fun because it kind of has that like Red Rock, Deer Valley kind of concert feel to it, but it's just really mellow and fun to get to be outside and to listen to all of these people perform. So up here, you'll see Jazzy Oliva, who's wonderful. And then this is Flamenco del Lago. And she was great because she's a flamenco dancer. So she was dancing while doing her thing, while getting Spanish guitar in the background. And then this is Fur Foxin. This is Elowin and Cherry Thomas. I don't know if you guys know who those are, but they're awesome. So I highly recommend. This is a super fun summer concert series that we're doing again this year. So check it out. And then LOCALIZED. So LOCALIZED has been around for a really long time. I'm not sure how long, I'm not sure how many years, but like, I want to say like 20 years. So pretty much the entire duration of SLUG Magazine. So it's a monthly concert series, again, that highlights 3 local bands. And it usually takes place at Urban Lounge. But of course, Urban Lounge had to close down the past year. So we shifted and we did VIRTUALIZED. So this is Scumbuds. And basically these are online concerts that I don't know if you guys can hear it, but I'm gonna pause it because it's a little distracting. But basically these are just local concerts that happen on our YouTube channel. So bands will submit videos like this, and we get to kind of all pull up our YouTube channel from home. There's a live chat that goes with it. So we'll all be like live chatting with each other while watching the show. And honestly, it's not as good as concert experiences, obviously, but it gets pretty close. And it's super fun to get to kind of chat with the bands and see like what's going on. In this show, actually, the Fervors, who were the closing act, had a dog named Floyd. And it was just super fun to be in the chat when Floyd came on screen because he was this like big, like Malamute kind of dog, just super fluffy and like a teddy bear. And like the chat went crazy. And so it kind of gives you that sense of community that you sometimes miss when you're not in the local, you know, when you're not able to go to concerts anymore. So these have been super fun. And yeah, so that's it for our events. But another section we do is community. So kind of going back to just kind of the core of SLUG Magazine, which is music, arts, events, and community. We also do stories about local businesses, activism, outreach, and education. So like this is the Project Success Coalition talking about their Juneteenth celebration coming up. That's an article we did really recently. We also do food and beverage. So we do, you know, monthly beer reviews as well as a monthly restaurant review. But then we also have, you know, entire issues dedicated to the local food, beer, and spirit scene in Utah. So we go really in depth with that and talk with your favorite local restaurateurs and, you know, all the breweries and distilleries you love, and to kind of see what's going on there. We also have skate, snow, and BMX features on our magazine. So every month people can submit either a skateboarding picture, a snow, which is either ski or snowboard, or a BMX picture. So this is our most recent one for April. This is Shay to Spain, I think. And he's pulling some sort of sick trick. I'm not 100% sure what it is. But yeah, so that's like a little taste of our community. But honestly, this one's filled with so much really cool stuff. So check it out if you have a chance. All right. Next up, let's get into why you're all here for career services, right? So let's talk about some opportunities. Hopefully I've done a good job of telling you about all the cool stuff we have going on at SLUG Magazine. And I hope you're all wondering like, oh, what a cool magazine. I want to get more involved. Well, here's how you do that. So here's kind of our volunteer opportunities. Not a lot of people know this, but SLUG Magazine is volunteer run. It's all volunteer contributors. So all of our writers, illustrators, designers, photographers are all volunteer based. We're so grateful to them. So if you want to kind of get involved, it's a great opportunity to connect with the local community as well as get your kind of name out there. So let's dive into what you can volunteer as. So number one is a writer, of course. The lifeblood of SLUG Magazine are our writers. They're the ones really putting all this content together. So we have a few different sections, kind of just, you know, falling into the previous categories I've talked about. Arts writer, which is, you know, people who go to galleries and write reviews about them, or who talk with local artists and do features about them, that kind of stuff. Community writer, who goes to local events and kind of talks about like, oh, what was this event like? Or talks to people like the Project Success Coalition. Food writers, who of course kind of talk about food and beverage, as well as do our food reviews on the site. Local history writers, I'm not 100% sure actually what these do. I assume they write about local history. We get, you know, sometimes we get weird pitches from people or we get weird ideas. And maybe this is a good time to talk about like where stories come from. We as a group are very involved in the communities we are writing and talking about. So inspiration strikes kind of whenever it strikes. And basically we just are constantly collecting ideas for stories. And then our editorial team will sit down once a week usually, or at least at the beginning of the month, and kind of talk about which stories they want to follow up with, which they will think will make a good idea, or which they think we actually have a, you know, chance of writing. But we also do accept pitches from the community. And along with pitches, we also accept, you know, local tapes and stuff. So like if you're a part of a band and you haven't sent us your music, you should just send it to localmusic@slugmag.com, and that's how you get featured in our music reviews and stuff. So that's actually all on our website. So if you just go like to our about page, it'll all be there, which email you can send that to. So you don't need to worry about memorizing it or anything. Speaking of music, so music writers are, you know, a big part of SLUG Magazine. You'll see right here is actually an example of one of our local reviews. And so this is Russ. He's been with us for a while. And basically, you know, music writers will do anything from writing reviews, writing concert recaps, interviewing local musicians through either virtualized or localized interviews, or, you know, just if there's someone that they can get a hang of or a hold of that they want to write about, that too. So those are kind of all of our writer positions. And then we also have copy editors. These people are truly heroes for the magazine. They go through the issue every month and just basically make sure that everything is grammatically or otherwise correct. So they're just kind of fact checking as well as editing. So if you're really big into editing, highly recommend you join their team. All right, designers and illustrators. Again, big part of the magazine. Honestly, these all are, so I'll just stop saying that. But they're all very important. Designers and illustrators. So designers do more of like piecing together like advertisements or, you know, the actual layout of the magazine. And then illustrators do more of like what you actually see here, which is drawing the content that we put. These are all specifically for virtualized, so if you couldn't tell by kind of the theme. But we also do them, you know, sometimes instead of a photo, we'll do an illustration if we think it kind of works better for the story. So like Mike Brown, who's kind of our monthly columnist, kind of a leftover of kind of old SLUG, but he will also often have illustrations instead of photos. So it's just, again, a great opportunity to kind of, if you're an illustrator, to connect you with the local community, as well as just a chance to, you know, kind of refine your skills and work with our team. Photographers and videographers. So this is great. I actually manage the videographers, so I'll plug that one. I'm an old film major, so I know SLIC has a great film program. So if you know of any local videographers who want to get more involved, it's super fun. I love working with them. But basically, you know, they're the ones taking photos of all of the people in our magazine, and we're so grateful to them. All right, and then brand ambassadors. So brand ambassadors are kind of our marketing gurus. They're the people that help us out at events, and they help us out on social media. So like at SLUG Games, they're the ones, you know, helping us sell merch and talk to the community and make sure the event runs smoothly. Kind of the same deal with BREWSTILLERY and SLUG Picnic. At SLUG Cat, they are the ones kind of running the games at the individual stops. So they're the ones, you know, moderating hopscotch and being the umpire there. And then, you know, at LOCALIZED, again, they're kind of running the merch booth, as well as just kind of, you know, like it says, brand ambassadors. We want them to represent SLUG Magazine and kind of share how cool we are with the rest of the community. They also help us out on social media, either through, you know, posting for us, or kind of just helping us get the words out about our campaigns. Like if we have a current event coming up, they'll help us out by doing some social posts there. So this is a great opportunity. I also run these guys, and it's just super fun. It's a great kind of community to be involved with, because, you know, you get to hang out at these events with people who want to talk to you, I guess. So it's a great opportunity. All right, and then these are our current paid positions. So, or I guess marketing intern isn't paid, but production assistant and distribution driver is. So I'll just go into these one by one. So event production assistant is awesome. It's every time we have an event coming up. So for instance, this one's for BREWSTILLERY, which again, we're hoping to do a little later in the year, but we want to hire you guys now. So event production assistants help us actually set up the event, as well as make sure it runs smoothly. So it's a little more involved than being a brand ambassador is, but they work really closely together. But so like for BREWSTILLERY, for instance, they're there helping us plan it, as well as, you know, day of, making sure everything is set up properly. So setting up tents and, you know, just making sure everything looks good and is ready to go, as well as, you know, helping out with selling tickets and tokens and all that stuff. And they do also help out at like our other events too. It's not just BREWSTILLERY. SLUG Games is another one they help out at. And SLUG Picnic, sometimes we ask for their help too. You do have to be 21 and up to apply for that one, just because our BREWSTILLERY is, you have to be 21 and plus to work BREWSTILLERY. Next up is distribution drivers, and distro drivers are the ones who are getting our magazines in all those cool places we were talking about earlier. So they drive from all over. So, you know, we have our magazine from Ogden to Logan to St. George, and even a couple locations in Nevada recently. So our distro drivers, you know, they kind of like, you know, the old school newspaper routes. Basically, you just pick up a bundle of mags and you get them around town. So pretty self-explanatory there. And then marketing interns, like I said, this is the only one on the screen that is unpaid, but it's about a 10-hour-a-week position where you just help us, you know, get our marketing department going. So you'll do anything from social media to just general kind of copywriting, like for press releases, social media analytics. It's kind of like it's a lot of stuff, a lot of different stuff that our marketing intern does. So yeah. All right, so here's where you have to go if you want to apply for any of these things, slugmag.com/opportunities. And this is where you'll find any, you know, we're pretty good about posting stuff on social media as well if we have any open positions. But this is where you'll find, you know, any other kind of open positions, as well as how to actually apply to be a volunteer. So now I will open the floor up to questions. And I made this lovely screen, but I'm actually going to stop sharing so I can see all your beautiful faces. So does anyone have any questions about SLUG Magazine, what we do, or how you can get more involved?
So I noticed you had a position available for, or at least you mentioned the copy editors, but that's an unpaid position, right?
Yeah, that's a volunteer position, kind of similar to our writers. Okay. It's about 2 hours a week of time commitment. And yeah.
So if I wanted to work somebody specific like Patrick Gibbs in film, how would I go about doing that?
If you wanted to work in something specific, or if you want to work with someone. Yeah, totally. Both. So the way to do that would be to, when you go to our website, the categories I listed are the ones that are specifically mentioned on the website. So if you were really passionate about film, like you said, I would kind of maybe do arts writer and apply as an arts writer, but just shoot us an email. I think that's how you apply anyway, is you just email volunteer@slugmag.com and just say, hey, I'm really interested in, you know, becoming a writer, specifically film reviews or whatever.
Thank you.
Morgan, we have a question in the chat for the, what is the pay rate for a driver and how many hours per week?
So the pay rate for driver actually depends on which route you do. So it's kind of based on that, same with how many hours per week. And it's not really hours per week, it's more of like a monthly thing. So when the issue drops, you'll get, you know, depending on how many routes you do, that is kind of how many hours and what your pay rate will depend on. And there's nothing stopping you from doing multiple routes. And I should also say there's nothing stopping you from doing multiple volunteer positions. We do try to get people to kind of start with one volunteer position, and then you can kind of expand from there. But like, if you're interested in becoming a copy editor, but also think that maybe down the line you'd want to try like music writing, those things are not, you know, those things go, you can do it, just start with copy editing or whichever one you're more passionate about. And then later we can talk about also doing music writers. But we have a lot of people on our team who wear many hats. So I hope that answer, I don't know the exact pay rate for drivers, but I hope that answers kind of your general question.
For the writing positions, do you have to have previous experience to volunteer?
So you do not need to have previous experience to volunteer for any of our positions. There will, I mean, you know, for volunteer positions, they'll kind of work with you and see, you know, if you can handle, I guess, either the workload or the style. But we're, you know, we want you guys to succeed. That's kind of one of the big benefits of volunteering for SLUG. You know, is say you're, you know, only an adequate or so-so writer and you want to kind of elevate your game to the next level. working with our people is like a great way to do that because they want your content to be the best it can be, both for the magazine and for you. So you don't really need any previous experience. So I would recommend applying. Any other questions? How is SLUG funded? So SLUG is funded primarily through our local advertisers. Yeah, so thank you, Lyra. So basically on our website, as well as in the print issue, you'll see we have advertisements from both local and national companies. And that's primarily where we get our money from.
Hi, one thing I just wanted to share just from the perspective of Salt Lake Community College. So if there are students who are interested in the volunteer opportunities, while it might not be a paid position at Salt Lake Community College, we do have the opportunity to do cooperative education, which means if you're doing an internship that is related to your major, and if you still have electives, you can actually get credit for that opportunity. So that could be something else to look into if you are interested in their volunteer opportunities. And I can post the link to it to see if that is something you all would qualify for. But that way you get credit and then you get to work with amazing people who want to mentor you.
That is awesome. Thank you, Salt Lake Community College. All right.
All right, any last minute questions? We can't hear you, Zay. If you want to, you can type it in the chat. Okay.
This has been a rough year for all of us with the technology. And it seems like you've got a complicated setup, Zay.
Awesome. Well, Morgan, if you wouldn't mind putting your contact information in the chat, if students want to reach out with questions based off your presentation today. And then the Director of Career Services, Ella, also put the link to cooperative education, which is that if you have a job, internship, or volunteer experience, and you have elective credits left to you still need at SLIC, you can do cooperative education to get that credit. And so that stuff is in the chat. Thanks so much for joining us today. We can go ahead and wrap up. Thanks so much, Morgan, for coming to present about SLUG. And if any students have any questions, you can also feel free to reach out to me. If you need someone to look over your resume and cover letter before you apply to these jobs, or you want to do a mock interview, you can also schedule an appointment with me, or just email me and we can schedule that way. But thanks so much for joining, and y'all have a great rest of your week.
You too. Thank you.
Thanks
Bye.
for being here. Bye, everybody.